welcome everybody. Today I have a really interesting guest with us. I welcome you all to PragatiE Vichaar, Break the Bias, breaking all the stereotypes and everything related to women. Today we have such an honorable personality with us, Lipika Bhushan. I can't even tell you how immensely and how privileged I am to have you on board with this. It's a great honor for PragatiE Vichaar to have you on our event, Break the Bias. So it's very difficult to say a very few words about such a personality, an entrepreneur like you. It was difficult for me to sum up, but I'm going to try my best to appreciate you in whatever ways possible. And our viewers should also know what interesting personality you are. So let's begin. An award-winning senior publishing professional, Lipika Bhushan, heads MarketMyBooks, a leading publicity and digital marketing agency. She's the one started it, building it up, and since making it work forward and forward. She's also been working with HarperCollins India for about 7 years. She's given her hard work and all the heart to the agency and made it so such a wonderful place to work on. No matter whatever I say about her, it's always going to be a little less because a person like her has always showcased so many talents and hidden thoughts. So let's go to the questionnaire and know about her a little more. So, ma'am, can you just say a few lines about you?
Well, thank you, Kavya. Firstly, let me thank PragatiE Vichaar and let me thank Frontlist to give me this platform to talk about myself and what I do. It's a very noble thought behind this conversation and series of conversations that I believe you're doing with women across publishing. As my first boss in publishing used to tell me, I kind of appeared on the horizon of publishing about 14 years ago when I by chance landed into the HarperCollins office. It used to be at the India Today offices at that time in CP. And I had moved back from Bombay. I did my MBA from Bombay and I was working there for a while. And then I'd moved back from Bombay and I was already working in a white goods and consumer durables company. And I was looking for a change, and that's when I landed in the HarperCollins office. And the first thing I see when I I walk into their conference room was Agatha Christie, Sidney Sheldon, Paulo Coelho, and all the titles that I used to love reading. And we just, so the CEO of the organization then, Mr. Sukumar, walked in and we started our conversation. And I think it must have been half an hour through the conversation that we realized that I was not in for the kind of interview, the kind of position that they were looking for. And he was interviewing somebody who was not there for that interview. But we enjoyed it so much that I got a call back after an hour of conversation. I walked out pretty happy to have spent time talking about books and writers. When Mr. Sukumar, so after that conversation, I think I got a call back, and there were quite a few rounds with the international team in the UK. And finally, I got in and I was heading marketing there for almost 7 years. And those were the most wonderful years I've spent in the alma mater of publishing, that I call it. It was a great learning experience, apart from the fact that, it gave me a lot of opportunity to do things and bring in innovative ideas and implement them through a fantastic team that I started with and slowly built. 7 years into the job, and most of us, most of the women find themselves moving into a period of time when they want to expand their family, and that's when I decided that I need to move out. That was when I was carrying my first baby, and I was for a long time toying with the idea of doing something which would allow me enough time for my baby. And I didn't want to be leaving my child to a help or somebody else at home. I wanted to see her grow in front of me. And that's when During my maternity period, maternity leave, I started toying with the idea of starting off something as a freelance. Maybe, try picking up projects. And so it was a very unsure period. Um, but I think this was meant to be. And the moment I quit, I think by the time I quit Harper, I already had another child in place called Market My Book. Market My Book is an endeavor to fill a gap in the market where I strongly feel that while publishers do a great job and an honest job with the kind of authors and titles they publish, in marketing them, in ensuring that the books are available. But still, I also feel that there is a lot more that needs to be done to sustain, publicity to ensure that the author and his or her book sells and sells well. And therefore, it cannot be limited to a period of a month or 2 months. And that's where this entire thought of Market My Book came into being, where we started by assisting authors on marketing, on both traditional and digital and publicity, all sorts of marketing for the books. I'm so glad that my first client was Kishore Desai, and I didn't have to try much. Luckily, I mean, I never had to try much to get projects. The day I announced my firm, I already had a couple of authors who wanted to work with me, who wanted me to help them with marketing of their books. And it's 2013, and now I think almost 9 years have passed, and we've grown. We've grown in terms of the number of team members that I have. I'm happy to be part of a job creating community. We've grown in terms of the volume of work that we handle and do. We've grown in terms of profile, given the kind of writers and the kind of publishers who we work with. Some of the biggest names in the industry all across the world, and some of the biggest names in the in the writing community. We are proud to have helped with. And the biggest achievement has been that a lot of these writers who continue to write and continue to seek our support with every new book that they come out with. There are a lot of these publishers who continue to seek our support and understand what we bring to the table.
Right.
And I think that collaborative effort has resulted in a lot of successes that publishers and writers have seen. So yeah, it's been a wonderful journey, and I think once in publishing, always in publishing holds so true to me that I never thought of, out of my 17, 18 years of career, I don't think I ever thought of moving out of it, out of the domain.
So as I was hearing you, one question that popped my head was, how is the shift for working under some brand and creating a brand? How is that shift?
Oh, it's like having another child, and the entire process of from the time of conceiving to the time of delivering a baby. You go through all those ups and downs and insecurities and everything that you can think of. But now, when I sit and think about those months and years where we were working hard to create a space for ourselves, initially it was very difficult for us to assure publishers that we can come on board as a partner instead of being seen as a competition.
Right.
And I'm glad that over the years that is something that idea has germinated in the minds of the publishers as well. But other than that, I think the entire process of giving birth to this organization and growing, there have been lots of times when you are unsure and when you think that whether you should will you be able to sustain your team? And, like, especially during the lockdown, I think, it was a tough time on all. And the very fact that it had impacted almost every business, to ensure that your team continues to get their salaries and does not get impacted or feel that, the need to be looking under pressure of not being able to get what is due to them. I'm glad we did not go through that. We were able to sustain them without really having them to think about whether their next salary is going to be in. But the biggest learning and the most exciting part has been to be right from the point of an office boy to the accounting person in your organization. I think that there's been a time which is of huge learning, where I was handling everything from right from the point of packaging my own the titles to send it out to media, to the point where I was also looking into accounts, also trying to see how we can file our taxes. So learning a lot of things that you otherwise leave on others to do for you in bigger organizations is something that this entrepreneurial journey has taught. It has taught me to be very resilient. And I think that's very important for anybody to especially in the last 2 years, the kind of time that we've all seen. I think that resilience to continue and to be positive is something that, this entire birthing process has taught me. So it's been an enjoyable journey. It's been it's a huge learning experience for me. It wasn't an organization which was backed by huge funds. So starting right from a small amount of your own money, and then bringing up to a point where you are being able to sustain a team, manage an office. I think that's a big, it ensures a lot of learning, lot of things that you experience for the first time.
So I have a little gender biased question in my head. So that is, do you feel that women has more amount of steps to step up when it comes to setting up a brand when it comparing to a man? She needs to climb a little more as compared to a man when building a brand.
So when I was your age, I would have definitely thought that, when it comes to struggles, women have a lot more to struggle.
Right.
I still believe that up to a certain age, women continue to struggle much more than men. A lot of things come easy to men. They don't have to think of, when they step out, they don't have to think of a lot of things that we have. But as I grow up now, and I have the good luck of being able to establish an organization, I feel once you've done well in the area that you are in, I never had personal experience of not getting equal opportunities. Okay. I think women tend to get a lot more respect if you are professional, if you are committed to your timelines and deadlines, if you deliver. I think people tend to trust women more with work than men. So that way, I would say that while our struggles are tremendous, in the entrepreneurial journey, I don't think, anywhere I've faced it personally. But having said that, I don't think it is true for everyone. There could be women who really struggled in their journey, who have faced a lot of negative feedback, but luckily I haven't. But yes, as I said, while growing up, while in that phase where you were still trying to figure out things about your career, I think we've all gone through that phase with equal amounts of struggle. In fact, I would say people who come from weaker economic backgrounds have to struggle much more. Women coming from that background have to struggle much, much more. We can't even imagine. I mean, I'm I thank God and my parents to be privileged enough to not face many of these struggles that maybe, a lot of girls coming from weaker economic sections do.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, if you ask me about the bias, there always is. But it's not necessary that it always works against you. There are biases even in favor, as I said. People, many people would like to trust, they trust women more with work than men.
So it has both pros and cons attached to it. The bias. Moving on, do you think that when you were building the brand and you had to keep the home also as a priority plus the work, did you had some issues or balancing both at the same time? Was it a problem for you?
Yeah, I got married very late in my. I mean, as per the Indian standards, I got married at an age of almost 30. So the sheer fact of moving into a married life was a huge change because you're so used to taking your own decisions, both in personal and professional fronts. So right from that point to having kids, which completely turns around your view of life.
Yeah.
Your view changes with having kids. You were initially thinking of just you, then you have to think of your partner, then there are the parents, then there are the kids now, and the kids are a far bigger responsibility than any of these.
Right.
Uh, so yes, I mean, and of course, the pressure is always higher on women. And I also feel that it is naturally so because mothers tend to take on more responsibility about of their children, which I mean, it comes naturally to them. So there's been tremendous pressure that one has to balance out, and especially when you are starting out on your own, there is a lot of mental strength needed to continue because somebody who's used to getting a salary every month in their bank accounts without really having to worry
About it.
has moved into a setup where you have to earn your bread, and you know that there could be many months where you go without
And you
getting
have the
your own.
pressure of giving salaries to others as well. At one point, you had to get them, and now you have to give it to other person. It's difficult.
So there are lots of pressures that women have to undergo, and I think I've been fortunate enough to have a partner who's not who helps out, who shares responsibilities, both in terms of managing household and relationships and children. So I think and still I feel that the pressure is higher because it's something, as I said, that comes naturally. Your children will are more inclined to seek your help and support for many things that they might not go to their
Not
dad.
go to the farm.
Yeah, so I think so that balancing act is something that I think women are born with. It's just that when they reach a certain phase in their lives, they suddenly realize that they can do it. Otherwise, you're always unsure. I mean, at your age, I would have been unsure whether I can even manage marriage in addition to my career. But today, there are not many more problems that I'm still unsure of whether I'll be able to handle. But as we come to that, I think we are better in managing and handling. Um, you know, uh, any day I feel that while I don't like comparing genders, but I feel that women are better managers. They are naturally born managers.
Right.
They are able to manage their time and space much better than men.
Right. So moving on, were you scared because taking a shift from working somewhere and making people work under you and making them as a team, were you scared of what if this plan fails or I am doing such a great job or I have to shift? Was it a little scary for you at that time?
See, any change is scary for people. I would not say scary. Scary is too strong a term, but any change kind of anything that disturbs your regular routine worries you. And it did worry me because, to be very frank, a lot of women give up their jobs completely after having children.
Right.
And a lot of bright young women have had to, quit. And unfortunately, even today, we don't have opportunities for them to come back into the work environment after giving a long gap in their careers.
Right.
So I didn't, that worry was always there at the back of my mind, that I didn't want to sit at home, not because of anything else, but for the fact that if I have invested my time and energy into educating myself, into building a career for myself, uh, nothing should limit me.
Right.
Even my own children should, in a way, help me to grow as a professional. And this is very strange for many people when they hear this, because I feel that, as I said, every new relationship added to your life makes you a better manager. So
Absolutely.
I didn't quit and sit at home. I wanted that even if I don't earn, because financially, okay, I mean, I was well taken care of in terms of the kind of savings I had, and that is the first thing you fall back on when you are starting your entrepreneurial journey. But I didn't want to stagnate. I always wanted to use my skills and continue to grow mentally.
Right.
And that was the reason why at times it did worry me. And another issue in our case was that I come from a service class background. My entire generations, none in my last two generations have been entrepreneurs or business people. They've all been bureaucrats, they've been army people, they've served the government and the people of the country, but none of them have taken the plunge
Work.
into having a business of their own.
Right.
And for them to do that among a huge family of cousins, both male and female, it was something which I think a lot in my family were not very sure of. They have never experienced it, so they weren't sure whether it is an option that I should be looking at. As I said, even after marriage, from the other side of the family, I come from a completely service class background. So, yes, of course, at the back of my mind, there were worries and concerns about whether I'll be able to sustain it, how long will I be able to sustain it. I always knew that I'll make it work, but I wasn't sure how long it's going to take
Right.
to make sure that it gets, it gets the kind of space it deserves in the market. And I'm happy that I didn't have to wait too long. I did have to wait long enough to get a team on board, because for about 1.5, 2 years, we were just, we were earning, but I wasn't sure whether I can have an office space and run it and sustain the expenses that come along with it.
Right.
So it was only after 2 years or 3 years of operations that I made enough money to, the company saved enough money to get an office space and ensure that even if, we make what we are making around that time, we will be able to sustain that office space for, say, the next couple of months or years. So
Right.
slowly that thing came, and then the next step came of expansion of the team, and I think that was a very good move, because with expansion we could take on more work, and once you take more work, then that means you make more money.
Right.
Yeah. So I think you're making me walk back into the time when I'm going back to some of the moments that have been of great anxiety and also of great satisfaction.
I think that's
Yeah.
a roller coaster ride. Once you're on top, once you go down, and then you're back on top. It just moves on.
Yes, absolutely. And interestingly, there was a time when I was having my second baby. I was carrying my second baby during this time, and that's when again this thought came up, whether I should just wrap up.
Right.
Um, I'm so happy that both my children get the kind of time they should from. I mean, I'm seeing them grow up, and I'm seeing them learn things and have fun with them, and still I'm able to continue doing what I like doing. And both my children are they're very naughty, but they are very, very, they allow me that time and space.
So I think the good thing about is having children didn't stop what you wanted to. You tasted the both things. You had the best part of both worlds, being a mommy and an entrepreneur that you are. And I think you worked it pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is one advice I think I give everyone. I think every woman should complete her education.
Right.
And by completing her education, I mean that it's not just about doing your graduation, but also I think you should add some,
Specialization.
some skills to yourself, which you can use in terms of, because whether we like to accept it or not, out of the two, it's mostly the women who have to think about quitting their jobs when you are the family way.
Yeah.
And I always advise that if you have your skills in place, if you're honing up your skills, I think it is going to be easy for women to continue doing what they want to, even after having children from their own space in their own time. They don't have to really give up on their dreams, on their career. And once you are, sitting and working and continuing to work, even if the volume is less to begin with, I think at some point in time you keep finding ways to grow.
Right.
Uh, so that is something that I've learned, and it's out of experience. I usually advise women that they should add skills to their regular degrees that they get.
And how did you come up with the idea of Market My Book? What struck in your mind that I should start this? What was the main key idea behind it? How did you start it?
So I was heading marketing at HarperCollins India,
Right.
and most of these international publishers publish almost like 80 to 100 new titles every month. And we know for a fact any publisher, big or small, is only able to give that much time to every title when it comes to marketing. They have got a lot more on their plate, and obviously they have limited resources. So they are not able to, and I would not, it's not something that I would say in a negative fashion. It is very natural for them not to be able to make enough resources to sustain marketing for every book, because the book marketing in publishing houses is purely dependent on the kind of numbers that the book will do. It's and so if it's a small print run that they are looking at, obviously their focus would be different in terms of marketing that book in comparison to something where they are investing a lot of money and doing a huge print run. So it's very natural for any business organization to think of where to invest and how much to invest in a particular project.
Right.
Uh, when I was heading marketing at Harper, and after moving out, when authors started coming to me, uh, and I started getting insights into other publishing houses as well, I realized that there was the idea with which we started Market My Book was bang on. I think we wanted to plug in that gap and provide assistance to writers who were right there. And by that, I mean that given a little push and nudge in terms of marketing, they could do well. Which otherwise, they were limiting themselves by just relying on the marketing that the publishers did for them. Another reason for the idea of Market My Book to germinate was because there were a lot of writers who were coming up with books and were ready to invest in marketing. And what they used to do more often than not was to bring in a publicity firm, a PR firm, uh, which did not have any clue about the product. The problem is that books are a very different product category than any of the products on this planet.
Right.
They want the kind of variety that they have, that kind of varied product line is nowhere to be found. No industry has such a varied product line, with every book is very different from another.
Right.
And you have thousands and thousands of books being published. You have to work on, how you are going to stand out. And I think the market was ready then to see writers investing in their publicity, because they were looking at it not from just one book perspective, but from a long-term perspective.
Right.
For example, at that time, there was this competition to get established, and as a writer in the Indian mythology segment. And today, there is a competition to get established as a writer who can also write for OTT platforms.
Absolutely.
So writers have started realizing that it is not just books don't sustain them, books don't sustain their bread and butter. But what comes along with it, what comes along with the publicity through that they get through a book is something much bigger. And when they realized it, that's when they started investing in it, and that is where the role of Market My Book became more and more important, because we could get them focused publicity, we could get them a sustained publicity for a longer duration than maybe they would otherwise get.
Absolutely. I think we were saying that writers is something that cannot get you your bread and butter. Writing is not a profession that can get you bread and butter. But I think after your brand, they can also get you bread and butter plus a name in the market. So
absolutely. You look at Amish, you look at anyone, Anand Neelkantan.
Right.
Even the new set of writers, who have maybe just written one or two books, and today they write for OTT platforms. They write the series. They write for so the entire the entire universe of writing has kind of exploded in the last decade.
Right.
And opportunities are there for writers today than there were earlier.
Before, right.
That is the reason why, I think they have started realizing the growing importance of publicity, of being there on the top of the minds and hearts of your readers.
Yeah. Moving on, do you think the publishing industry is moving at par with the digitalization world for the readers? They're moving hand in hand, do you believe?
Well, I would say, there's a long way to go for publishing. I think we are not exploring and exploiting our potential to the maximum. Right. We are still and I would say we are very cautious. We are overtly cautious when it comes to, exploring that digitalization phase, because if you look at it, even today, the ebook sales in India are a minuscule part. They form a minuscule part of the total sales for books in the category, in any category. Yeah. And why is that? Because I see, I don't see that effort in marketing or creating the, that pitch for that additional effort for ebooks. Similarly, we are sitting on the biggest content that the world can create. Publishing industry is the biggest producer of content. Absolutely. And today, content is the only thing that sells. And still we are an industry which forms a very, very small part of the entire universe of business and industries. Why? So these are some questions. If we start seeking answers to, we'll realize that the reason is, we are overtly cautious. We don't want to break away from, a traditional mindset of how we market books. We are scared of being looked at as content creators, frankly. I think the industry is still trying to, not be bracketed along with content creating agents industry.
Right.
But if you look at it, if from a book, there could be so many. Today books are being converted into movies, they are being converted into series, they are being converted into audios. So I think there is a lot more that we need to do in terms of keeping pace with the digitalization that's happening, which
Right.
we aren't.
Absolutely. There's a long road for us to walk on to reach
There's
there.
more that we can do, and there's a lot more that we can achieve, even revenue generation wise. I think we are not exploiting what we have, the strengths that we have.
Right. So moving on, come from a generation where women was not encouraged that much to be an entrepreneur, and you turn out to be an amazing one. So what advice you would like to give to women who are trying to become an entrepreneur or walking the journey towards managing a brand or making a brand?
Well, you can say almost a decade ago, yes, there might not have been as many entrepreneurs in our particular field as there
Right.
are now. See a lot
Absolutely.
of girls moving out of regular jobs and picking up publicity as their domain. And, even if it's freelancing, they're doing it. They're doing it well. And they're taking that leap of faith. I think what worked for me, and the advice that I usually give to most of the women is that I feel women kind of limit themselves. The way they are groomed, the way they are brought up. That is the first point that limits them,
Right.
and their aspirations. I was lucky enough to have a dad, and I was lucky enough that both my parents were, extremely supportive of me having independent ideas. And I think that is the way, especially as a parenting advice, more than professional advice, I would suggest is that let your children have their own, let them grow up with their own set of, make their own, let them have their own ideas, let them have their own thoughts, let them have their own interpretation of what's happening around them. You can definitely tell them you can guide them and make them, present the pros and cons in front of them. But you have to give them the freedom to think, independently. And I think that was one thing that my parents did for me. And I would suggest that women need to break out of that self-inhibiting shell that they themselves create around them. I meet a lot of women my age who are so wonderful human beings. They are so wonderful at so many things, but they're never able to break out of that shell of of not being confident enough to explore what they can do with their lives other than what the family has set for them. So, every woman, a lot of women restrict themselves to their homes, they restrict themselves to their family, they restrict themselves to bringing up their children, which is all good. I'm not against it. If it is your choice to, be at home and be with your family all the time, I'm no one to criticize that choice. I am no one to judge you for that. But if you have invested in education, your time, effort, money. If you have invested in grooming yourself, if you have, especially if you've worked for a certain years in your life, I uh, I would be the first person to advise you not to quit, not to give up, not to let family expectations or relationships limit you. I think it is very important to make that choice to continue to uh, not work for others or work for yourself, but to continue to engage your skills in some
Right.
way or the other. Not let them. If you're a good singer, continue to use it, continue to hone it, continue to spend time on it, and if you're a dancer, it's not just about earning money, it is about keeping yourself constructively engaged outside of the limits that the society sets for you. I mean, it's a social need for a lot of women have to it's a compulsion, it's a social need for them to get married, to have
Right.
to get settled and stay at home. But that should not stop them to be creatively engaged, and that does not stop them to be honing up their skills or trying things out that can give them the independence of thought.
Right.
So my advice would be that if you have invested in education, you have invested in yourself, you should continue to hone up your skills, you should continue to use that investment and grow like any business